So you have the basic body complete. What we need to do now is the two more complicated pieces is the head and the hands. We're going to make the hands this week, and we'll work on the head in the following weeks. You can go ahead and make this right inside of the same file that you're working on the other parts, or you can just make a separate file. I'm going to do it in a separate one because that way I don't have the model in the way or the images and things like that. You could do the same, and then you could just copy and paste it into the other one, or however you want to do it, or import it. But I'm going to do it in here just to keep things clean and make it a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to hit delete that cube. We're going to hit Shift A, and we're just going to add a plane. Okay, so then what we're going to do is I want to go in this direction. So the fingers are going to come out this way. I'm going to start off with basically the knuckles. So we're going to go ahead and do S and Y, and we're going to squeeze it down like about that much. Okay, we're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. I need to add 4 edges. So you can hit Control R to insert edge loop. All these tools are over here. If you hover over, it will tell you what the things are. So you can see right there, Control R is the loop cut. So I'm going to hit Control R. Now, if you use the scroll wheel, it should add more or less. But if for some reason yours doesn't work, I've had sometimes where students just doesn't do that. You could just click, and then I'm just going to right click so it stays there, and then just do this. You could just do that. But if yours will let you scroll, then go ahead and just, scroll it out. Okay. So I want to have the 4 fingers come out here, but if you look at your hands, and I suggest that you look at your hands constantly while you're modeling this, you'll notice that there is gaps between your fingers. So we're going to make sure we put those gaps in, because right now if I were to extrude these out, they would be connected. Even if I spread them individually, they'd come to a V here, and that wouldn't look very good, and it won't result in proper topology for the hand. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to hit 2. I'm going to select this edge, this edge, this edge, and we're going to bevel, which is just Control B, and we're going to spread it out, and we just want to do a little bit. Basically, we're just making that space between the fingers. Okay, something like that. I don't need these on this side. This is going to be the palm. The fingers are going to come out this way. So we're going to grab this one, and this one. We'll hit M, and actually don't do it like that. Sorry, do one at a time. M, at center, at center, at center. Okay. One thing that's going to happen is it may not be abundantly noticeable, but you'll see that this face and this face are larger than the 2 middle ones, and that's because we beveled these two, but this side didn't get beveled. So we're just going to go ahead and make this one smaller and this one smaller. This is going to be our index finger, and this is going to be our pinky. So I'm going to grab this one, just do G and X, and I'm going to bring it in quite a bit because the pinky's decently smaller depending on the person. I'm going to grab this one and G and X, and I'll bring this one in roughly to about the same size as those other two, okay? Just so it sort of matches up with those. Okay, great. So now we have sort of a foundation that we can build off our things with. Okay. Next up, we're going to do is I'm going to grab all 4 of these edges where my fingers will come out, and we'll hit. Oh, actually, before we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to hit E, and then I'm just going to hit Y, and we're just going to pull them straight out. We'll go about, we'll say that much. Okay. So one of the things that you're going to notice is if you look at your hands, just put your hand up in front of you. You'll notice that your fingers do not come out in a straight line. It's actually kind of curved here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just sort of adjust this shape so it's a little bit closer to what it should be. So I'm going to grab this one and this one. I'm going to hit G and X, not X, sorry, G and Y, and we're just going to slide this back a little bit and say, let's do like that. And I'm going to grab this one and hit G and Y, move this one back a little bit, go like that, maybe go a little bit more here, G, okay. And then this one's also going to go in, and we'll hit Y. Something like that. Just so it has sort of that general kind of curve, okay? It does annoy me a little bit. I'm going to hit 1 and just grab this one, and just so it's a little more curved. Doesn't need to be perfect. I know I was hitting X before, but in actuality, none of this is going to be perfect anyway, so we're just going to go like that. Okay, so now I got the shape like that. And you'll notice that your pinky in particular, the first knuckle is quite a bit lower. I'm going to hit 2, and I'm just going to grab this one. We'll do G and Y. I'm just going to move that back quite a bit. This one's going to go up, G and Y, because that's the middle finger. And usually these are pretty close to the same, kind of depends on the hand. Let's do G and Y, move this one back a little bit so it's not quite the same. Okay, good. So you can look at your hand. If you brought in an image to use as a reference, that would probably work well as well. Let's go ahead and just continue these on. So I'm just going to grab all 3 of these again, and we're going to hit E, and we'll hit Y, and I'm just going to pull it out, and we'll call that pretty good right there. I'm just going to move this one back a little bit. Okay, so that should be okay, and my index is slightly smaller than my ring finger. Okay, so we'll say that that is about what we want. Okay, so that looks fine. I got a rough kind of feeling of what we have here, but what you'll notice is it's flat, which is kind of not what we want, right? So we made it look good this way. Now we just need to make it work from a 3-dimensional kind of point of view. One of the things that we're going to do is we're modeling everything in basically default pose. So we should be modeling in A pose, which means the arms are kind of set down to the side, not directly against their thighs, but a little bit farther out, as opposed to being straight out, which is T pose, when you see the arms just not vertical, horizontal. You'll see that often when you do beginning modeling. But we want to do more rest state, default state. So the hands should not be perfectly flat because your hands aren't like that. They'll usually be slightly curved. You also notice if you have your hand, if there's a slight curve going this way, and there's a slight curve going this way. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hit 1. I'm going to hit Shift Z to go into wireframe real quick. We're going to grab these. I'm going to go, let's go like this, we'll say, okay? And then what we're going to do is I'm going to hit Shift Z back off. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to turn on this. You can hit O, also works. And we're going to move it like this. And I'm also going to adjust the influence. We'll say something like that. And then I'm also going to hit R. And we're going to rotate it like so. Grab just this one. See, that's why I got to hit Shift Z. Shift Z, click and drag over. We'll do G, and then it's the scroll wheel to change the fall off. I feel like I forgot to mention that. So I'm just going to kind of go like that, and then we're going to grab this, and then we'll do G again, and I'm just going to kind of scroll a little bit like that. All right, so we get kind of a curve. That's probably a little more than we needed, to be honest. Let's bring this up a little bit, and I'm just going to something like that. Okay, so just to get that slight kind of curve there. It's a little more than I wanted. Anyway, so then the other thing I want to do is these fingers should be somewhat bent going downward. So I'm just going to grab all of these, and we are going to just G and Z. I'm just going to kind of push it down a little bit like that. Okay. And then I am in particular going to undo, let's hit 3. We'll undo this one, and I'm just going to do G and Z a little bit. And then we'll undo this one, and G and Z a little bit more. Oh, crap. I didn't notice. Let's hit O to turn hit the soft movement there. So G and Z, I'm going to move it down a little bit. Unselect this one, G and Z, move it down a little bit more. And unselect this one, G and Z. Oops. I meant this one, G and Z, a little bit more. All right, so something like that. And then we're just going to go to edges, and we're just going to kind of do the same thing. Again, I'm just going to, G and Z. And let's do this. I'm going to turn to the side, and that way I can just kind of make this a little bit better. So I'm just going to go like this. Grab this one. I'm just holding Alt to go to this view, and we'll go like that. And then we'll grab this last one, and that can kind of go like that, so that we end up with something that's a little bit more like this. I'm going to Shift C so you can see. All right, so this is kind of what we're looking for. Think of a rest kind of shape. Okay, so that is a start. I don't like how much these are. G and Z feels a little too, it's a little better. Okay. So we've got that going on. That's sort of the first shape. You can see more or less the fingers happening here. So let's do a little bit more so we have like a base plane. I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to hold Control, click here. That'll grab the edges all the way across. I'm going to go to Above View. And we're going to hit E to extrude, and we'll hit Y. And we're going to kind of come straight forward here. Let's go like that. And then we are going to hit 1. I'm going to grab, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're going to go like that. I'm going to hit G, and we're going to go like this. The thumb's actually going to come out here. So this is going to go out in that way. G, and then we'll grab this one and G, like that. Let's go like that. Okay. So hopefully you guys can get an idea. Good. And now we just need to do our thumb. So we're going to hit 2, go to this. We'll hit E. I'm just going to pull this down this way. And let's do G and up a little bit. That's a little too much. I would also, let's hit 1. And I need this to actually be going down a little. So it's more this shape. Okay. And G that. Okay. So something like that. Hit 2, grab this, and then we're just once again going to hit E and go a little bit more. Go up a little bit, and then I'm going to hit 1, and I'm just going to just adjust the shape here a little. So something like that. This looks a little too far down. Okay. So we end up with something more or less in line with this. So the thumb kind of comes down a reasonable amount. All right. So if you look, we have this basic kind of shape now, and you can see probably you already got an idea of what we're going to be doing. We're going to take this and we're going to extrude it down. Now, previously, ways that you might have seen people model fingers, and it's not necessarily wrong. It's another way of doing it. In fact, it's usually in intro classes is what the way I teach it. They might teach you to start with cylinders and then connect the cylinders and stuff. And that's not a bad way of working. But the reason why we're doing it this way is because we try to do things that are influenced from reality. And a lot of the things I teach are basically based off of stuff that master artists would have done. A common issue that people do when they draw fingers, when they first learn how to draw, is they will draw them like little sausages because they look at them like these little cylinders. But in fact, if you actually look at fingers, they're actually more planar. You'll notice at the top, in particular, is kind of flat-ish. They're more, the actual fingers themselves are more like kind of ovular. They're not as this round. And so you're actually better served when you're trying to draw hands to actually draw them as planes and not draw them as cylinders that are bending. Other parts of the body work fine, like legs and arms and such, and that's how we modeled them. But we're going to instead model these as planes. The other reason why I'm modeling it the way that I'm modeling it here is because, to be frank, if I was modeling a hand, I would do, there's 2 ways of modeling. One is where it's very much like chess, and you think, stages ahead. I'm like, oh, I got to do this and this and this because in a little bit I'm going to have to do this other thing. And so you'll count the number of edges and things that you need, and you'll try to, make a plan of action of how you're going to go, where you're going to go. And a lot of times that's how you start. But the other way of doing it is hack and slash. And then basically when you get to that point, you might have the form, but now like the geometry isn't good. So you have to start cutting through, and you add a bunch of edges, and then you repeat edges, and you flip some edges, and then you have to add another edge loop, and you divert one going another way, and you have to delete some floating verts and things like that. That isn't really good for tutorial purposes because otherwise it's just me running around doing whatever. So I'm trying to do this in a way that is like stage based so that you could follow it and it's structured. But you might find that even when we're done with this, if you want to do a little hack and slash just to make it fit your style and what you're doing, that's absolutely okay. The idea is that you want the form to appear correct, and you want the topology to support deformation. So this is the first stage. We have this basic kind of planar thing. Feel free to adjust this, and I would suggest it. Right now it's simple, it's just a plane, but as we add more geometry, it's gonna become more complex. So make all the changes and things that you need at this point, and then we will carry on and start going from there. Okay, so make sure this looks good before starting the next video.